Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Discourse for today, June 9th, 2023. I'm your host, Tristan, and oh boy, if you can't guess what we're going to talk about today, then you don't know me or my co-host, Mia. My name is Tristan. I am a YouTuber. I'm a few things. I have two ongoing projects right now. I have Step Back at stepbackhistory.com, and I'm the co-host of It's Probably Not Aliens, found at probsnotaliens.com. I stream on Fridays at noon, and if you wish to support my work, you can go to nebula.tv/stepback and sign up for Nebula, and if you do so, part of your membership goes to Step Back, to Tristan, to me, to buy food for baby and mortgage for as long as you're a member. You can also support by going to patreon.com/stepback. Stepbackhistory, sorry. Patreon.com/stepbackhistory, which is a place where you can support my channel directly for as little as, I think, like 80 cents a month or something like that if you sign up for the yearly subscription. And you get early videos and ad-free stuff. You don't get all of the Nebula. The Nebula subscribers get early videos and ad-free, and so do you, but they don't get, like, you know, early philosophy tube videos or something like that, you know, all the other benefits, but you do get my personal love and support, I guess. And other tiers allow you to have more input over how the direction the channel goes, all sorts of stuff like that. And if you have super chats are always welcome. They're not necessary, obviously, but hey. And memberships, I suppose. I guess memberships are a thing. I don't know what to do with those, but yeah. My latest video is called Terrorizing, What the West Needs to Know, and it's doing all right, I would say. As far as videos by Step Back goes, it's doing okay. Could be doing better, but hey, you can't win them all, even though I'd really like to sometimes. It's doing fine. Either way, my next video, which is coming out on July 3rd, is going to be about... I'm a little bit limited on time this month because of VidCon, so I'm doing just a little bit of a fun, light video where we're talking about... I'm doing a tier list of all the U.S. presidents. So we're doing that. The best president might surprise you. And if you want to submit questions for future streams or this stream, I'm going to put a link in the chat where you can submit questions, and they show up in my little Discourse feed, and we can answer questions. I've got a lot of questions today, but it's a lot of questions from like 3 people. So if anybody else submits, they are likely to get their question read. And of course, any new folks in the chat, if this is your first time watching, please say hello. Please make yourself known in the chat. We have a really great chat community, and we'd be happy to have new people join us. And yeah. And furthermore, we'll get into W's in a second, but yeah. I will mention that, as you probably might have noticed, I'm not currently on Twitch. This is a last-minute change because a friend of mine who knows a lot more about Twitch messaged me about it and basically said that there's a potential that I could have gotten in trouble if I had streamed on Twitch. So, long story short, Twitch has implemented some new policy decisions that are designed to essentially push forward the what Cory Doctorow would call the enshittification of the platform, which is an inevitable outcome when you have a platform that exists as a sort of broker between creator and producers and consumers, where they're in the middle trying to take as much money that flows between them as possible. And in doing so, it goes through 3 phases. The first phase, it's good for everybody. The second phase, it starts to abuse its users to get more money for itself. And then the third stage, it starts to abuse its business relationships for its own gain, and then it dies usually after that, but we'll see what happens. So we're entering into stage 3 of Twitch and shitification, I guess. And so because of that, I'm not going to be streaming on Twitch, at least until they backpedal on their current stream of policy decisions. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Okay, and I think we just need to get Mia up in here before we start talking about our W's. Hello! Oh no.
Hi!
Oh, there you are. You have a very powerful noise gate, so you came out of nowhere.
Oh god.
There you go.
I apologize. I'm noticing also that my brightness is like set hella low. I'm gonna fix that like real quick.
Okie dokie.
Bump up that ISO. Hi.
Hi. I very slowly am trying to catch up. I don't know if this happens to you. This is completely off like delving right into the weeds. But have you noticed that as a consumer of wonderful content at nebula.tv/stepback, that's the official website address for everybody, by the way.
Yeah.
That you first two things I've noticed. One, YouTube recommendations start getting really fucking weird and confused because it's just all of a sudden like everybody that you used to watch all the time, you just stopped watching. So it's just like, do you want to watch? I don't know. Do you like Kenshi? I've never heard of this game before. But do you want this? Do you want Kenshi? Do you want Kenshi content all the time? Here, a person who's never heard of this game before. Do you want 101 tips for how to survive Project Zomboid? And I'm like,
both really good games.
Both really good games. They do seem like they were made for me. It's my exact genre of game. But
you would tear the fuck up Project Zomboid. Like Zomboid kicks ass, and you would love it. Kenshi is all very fun, but it's weird.
Yeah, Kenshi seems like it's like almost like if Mountain Blade and The Sims and met together in like a post-apocalyptic samurai game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never really, I haven't given myself the time to give Mountain Blade the time it needed to play it. So I'm also not from Turkmenistan, so I don't really, it isn't the national sport of my country like it is there.
God, I've never heard more Turkic languages being spoken than when you play like a siege role-playing server in Mountain Blade Warband.
Yeah. You have to speak a Turkish-based language in order to truly enjoy the Mountain Blade experience. If you're not from Turkey, Turkmenistan, or I'm trying to think of another country that speaks a Turkish-based language. But those two specifically. If your country does not have at least some Caspian Sea coast, you're gonna miss out on the full experience.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
Mountain Blade is so fucking good though.
So not only does my like YouTube recommendations get completely fucked, and it's recommending me just the weirdest fucking things. I'm starting to get math videos. They're like, "Do you want math? Do you just want to learn some math today?" And I'm like, "A little bit, okay."
Yeah, kinda. I kinda do.
But it's just like all of a sudden you don't watch Mia Mulder, you don't watch Philosophy Tube, you don't watch Jacob Geller, and you don't watch H Bomber Guide, the 4 channels that are basically the ones where the second a video comes out, I dropped everything to watch it.
Yep.
But now,
now we just watch everything on Nebula instead.
Yeah,
because Nebula
at nebula.tv/stepback. But it's a thing that the thing is that now I have a big old watch later list of things to watch on Nebula. And I have one main villain to blame for my huge backlog of videos on it. And he knows who he is. He knows what he's doing. Mr. FD Signifier, you need to stop. You need to be stopped. Your videos take the better part of a weekday to watch. and you make so many of them.
Damn, FC Signifier is a lot bigger than I thought he was.
But either way, that's the weird thing is now that like YouTube doesn't know what the hell's going on with me, and I now have viewers, our channels like Mia Mulder, who I now get hopelessly behind on because I have this huge FD Signifier feud backlog of videos. So to the point where I just like a couple days ago watched your trans debate video around the time your Star Wars video came out. So fun. And I just watched the Stoicism video last night.
That one was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time with it.
I will make it. I also don't go to Starbucks much anymore, and as we all know, the rule is that I only watch Mia Mulder videos at Starbucks coffee shops.
Yeah. Specifically, yeah, that one that burnt down.
No, that wasn't a Starbucks. That was an indie coffee shop.
Oh yeah, right.
It was called the Black Walnut.
Which is a cool ass name for a coffee shop.
Yeah. It was such a there's an update on that. It was such a local phenomenon that now there's like this indie artist now who makes watercolor prints of like, you know, kind of well-known buildings in the city. And there was an art fair last weekend and she made a fucking killing by selling prints of her watercolor of the Black Walnut. And so it's been like a whole thing.
That's fun.
It's very local. It's the most local I've ever experienced an event, you know? I'm so used to living on the internet where I'm complaining about something that happened on the other side of the planet, not just like a building burned down like a half-hour walk from me. Okay.
It's good that you're making it like, you know, you're making the best out of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay, so yeah.
Is that a thing?
The community has rallied around. They have like a sign that says we will rebuild, and there was like a GoFundMe campaign to rebuild it and everything like that. Like everyone's rallied to bring it back. It was a legit great coffee shop.
It seems like it.
And it's not even a cool like Dutch coffee shop where you get weed. It's just like a regular ass coffee shop. They had good sausage rolls. That was the trick. Like absurdly good sausage rolls because we're still so British. Okay. But first, I guess before we do any other talks, who are you and what are you doing here?
My name is Mia Mulder. I'm a map game enthusiast and part-time politician and YouTube video essayist. But mostly I just play map games.
Yes. And we've got the mother of all map games to talk about later today.
Yes, I've been holding it in.
I at some point I have to like go do a screenshot of just the tweet that or the DMs I sent you when I saw this last night, where it was just like, Mia, this is an emergency, and then it was just a link to a trailer for a video game.
Mia replied like
you replied with like the bash of letters in it.
Yeah, initially I was like overwhelmed over the fact that like I thought that like someone had died or some shit, and then I was like, It's a game specifically made for us.
For the two of us.
For the two of us, the Paradox game team like are watching us and are making them for us specifically.
Yeah, but I think we need to do our chaser because this stream has a weird habit of doing its chaser before it's shot, which is weird. But dubs. Everybody has them. Everybody, I want you all to post your wins for the week. And I also can announce that my win for this week is that I got approached by somebody who wants to make a theme song for the W's this week. So this will have a sound bit in the future.
Shit, that's great. I'm still stupid on how the dubs system works.
So what we do is before we delve into the questions, many of which make us sad, we just talk about, we just get started by talking about any victories we've had in the last week or two that include everything from I got into university to I had a good breakfast this morning, or, you know, I was able to get out of bed. And any and all W's are accepted. And so...
Nice.
And we celebrate. We just celebrate together that everyone's got wins.
Wholesome.
And we celebrate all wins, no matter how big or small.
I love it. Sounds great.
So what do we got? All right, let's see. We've got our Dutch friend. The win of the week is the fact they managed to join the stream at all since my PC decided to have a gamer moment a few hours earlier. I managed to fix it somehow. Me too. Another W I guess I could mention is that my internet randomly went out like 20 minutes before the stream started, and I had to do like a very fast like unplugging my router and plugging it back in again to get it to work.
Oh no.
So there's that. Do you have a win?
Me?
Yeah. What's me?
I have 2 wins today. I have 2 wins to
Your
to
initial
share.
is literally 2 W's upside down.
That's right. which I guess are bads.
No, those are L's. Remember?
Else, that's how it's called. I don't know shit. So I have 2 wins. One is I bought an electric scooter bike so that I can get to work without having to rely on like an inconsistent bus network. And so that I can go and visit the various parts of the municipality which I govern without having to get a municipal taxi. Nice. Which is very good. So we like saving the environment, and also it's very fun to like breeze around because I'm like I'm very tall, so it's like I'm zooming around the municipality.
But you're very aerodynamic. You're like a hydrofoil, you know.
Yeah, exactly. If I go too quick, I'll take off. And I've had a lot of fun with that. It works great during the summer. I haven't tried it obviously like before the summer, but it's great and I love it. It's a good vehicle because I don't have a car.
Yeah.
And I don't need a car for the things that I'm doing. My other win is a little bit of a preliminary win, I guess.
A pre-win. A pre-W.
Pre-win. We'll come back to this one and see how much of a win it actually is. I'm finally. I bought a lottery ticket, and this time it's gonna work. No, so I have finally. After many like ups and downs, I've finally been able to start an ADHD investigation thing, and like done some interviews, done some tests, and the doctor has basically told me that like you definitely have ADHD, and you're gonna get reliable medication like consistent in about 4 to 5 weeks. After some drug tests and alcohol tests and like another interview I think, but then I'm like done.
Nice.
And unless everything has been going completely opposite to what my doctor's saying, I'm gonna get fucking like Vyvanse or something before the summer is over, which I'm very very happy about because then my brain's gonna work.
Nice.
At last. That's long term. Shit. And I was actually inspired. This is the thing. I was actually inspired by you, Tristan, my good dear friend, because you told me like a year or 2 ago that you started ADHD meds, and that it's like it helped you like tremendously in like so many like various parts of your life.
Oh yeah, that was a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember at the time being like, the things we complain about are very similar.
Yeah.
And the things that we struggle with are also very similar. And I've always been sort of like the way that I am. But so when you told me that, I contacted like the public healthcare option, which takes fucking forever here. Because it's not an emergency, and because the area where I live has been governed by right-wingers for like 3 decades, so they've completely underfunded the healthcare system. But it works when it works, and now the wait is over. So here I am.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's a win.
Yeah. An ADHD diagnosis is like, I got diagnosed when I was like in grade 7. So I got diagnosed when I was like 12. But then I had to get re-diagnosed because the whole idea is that ADHD is only supposed to last until you're like 19 or so. And then if you still have it after that, you have adult ADHD. And that's a different thing. And I got a diagnosis, luckily, because there was a school psychologist who really wanted to do a certain type of experimental intervention. And she was just like, I need people with ADHD for my experiments where I hook up electrodes to your brain. So I will pay this expensive test to get you tested, just so that you can find out if you have ADHD, and if you are, then I can hook up electrodes to your brain. And I was like, okay.
Amazing.
Worked
So
out.
did you get electrodes hooked up to your brain?
Yeah. I did. It's something called bioneurofeedback therapy, which is it was interesting. It worked really well. It's just, it's one of those things where I was like once a week going into this room and having electrodes like glued to my scalp and then looking at a weird screen. But basically, it's like this idea that they look at how ADHD brainwaves look and how normal brainwaves look, and it's kind of clever. So what it does is it's scanning your brain in real time, and if your brainwaves like kind of flex to look more like normal brainwaves, it beeps. And all they have to tell you is that if it's beeping, it's doing something, it's working. Like if it's beeping, you're doing the right thing. And your brain unconsciously, if you just know that you don't have to do any like actual like conscious processing to do anything, but just your brain knowing beeping is good, it like actively works to try and keep itself in that zone to have more beep. Your brain just wishes to collect beep, and your brain sort of trains itself on calming itself down, basically.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's good, but it's temporary. But like it was like a thing where like I would take it and then I like went to go get lunch afterwards, and I was just like, holy shit, I haven't paid attention to lunch more in my life. But
Paid attention to lunch?
Yeah, because like I went and got lunch and I like didn't like look at my phone or anything like that, and I was just like, this lunch is really good.
I haven't had that kind of experience. I have had other experiences with, let's say, things that are similar to ADHD medication, and I've had a similar experience, and it's kind of fucked up weird.
Yeah.
How when you're doing a very like normal everyday thing in a completely different context, and then you realize, oh, is this how everyone is?
Yeah.
Is this how normal people do? Is this how normal people have a meal?
Do people just eat things and enjoy them and not think about the 16 other things that are going on, and have like at least 2 songs stuck in their head for some reason, one of which you actually hate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got TikTok like playing at the same time, listening to a podcast, and also doing work on your computer.
Mm-hmm. TikTok has
while having lunch.
TikTok is the worst because it's created like brain worms stuck in my head for like 10-second snippets of songs. So it's like I just got like that stuck in my head. Okay. Dequack.
I hate TikTok. Hate TikTok. Love it.
Love TikTok.
TikTok's so bad. Yes.
So bad. So good.
Love TikTok.
Dequack has
it's so bad. I don't know why anyone watches TikTok. Love TikTok.
This is so good. Can't stop watching it. The dub of the week apparently for Dequack is that they have gotten a new desk for their room.
Fuck
Nice.
yeah, I love desk.
I love desk.
Legitimately, whenever I get a new desk, I'm ecstatic.
It's great to have a desk, and unlike me, who has 2 IKEA shelving units with a piece of wood on top of it, that's
all you need, really. I mean, that is a desk. That's the first desk that I had.
It's good. I've had it for. It's very good when I moved a lot. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go. Master Mats W. Cottonwood allergies have been killing my cottonwood pollen has been killing my allergies for the last 2 weeks, but my eye doctor gave me some free allergy eye drops, and now I can see. Sweet. We love a good seeing.
What's cottonwood?
Probably the wood of the cotton plant.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I don't have allergies typically, but I've sort of experienced what it's like to have allergies in the last few days, because I don't know if you heard the news, but my country's on fire, and
I have heard this. Or do you have the orange sky?
I do not have the orange sky, but I did have like the sort of hazy sky. But yeah, it did not look like I was a Latin American country in an American movie. But
you didn't end up in Breaking Bad.
No, but it did look like it was basically like, you know how like when the sun's about to go down, things get kind of like orange as like the light changes, right? It was like that, but it was the middle of the day and the sun was high in the sky. So it was a little bit orange.
Ookie.
And and like everything outside seems fine, and then you're like, wow, my sinuses are really like mad, and my throat feels tacky, and I'm like, my lips are all chapped, and like the baby keeps coughing, and I'm like, oh, this is a weird. Outside is weird. But then we had like a huge rainstorm last night, so that kind of fixed it.
Bad vibes.
Bad vibes.
I saw a lot of people on TikTok again, fucking TikTok. I saw a lot of people on TikTok walk around with like these like powerful ass masks and barely being able to see like two inches in front of their face, looking post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. The Canadian conspiracy theorists have concluded that the fires were set intentionally by the government to convince us that climate change is real, and also because I don't know if you know, but our completely insane conspiracy theorists are almost entirely based on like one, hatred for the environment, and two, hatred for any and all things that even look like COVID restrictions. So they're like the anti-15-minute city people, but also hate the environment. So the government wants to do this because they want to convince us climate change is real, which it isn't apparently. And two, because for absolutely zero reason, they want us wearing masks again. And so they're like, because like some of the recommendations are like, hey, go grab your old COVID masks when you're outside because it helps catch the particulates in the air. And it's like, yeah.
Everything's sucky.
Yeah.
The world is falling apart.
But we've got some more W's. Matt Lipton has been using the Pomodoro technique and finished almost all of their goals last night. Sweet. Pomodoro technique is powerful shit, man.
I have longed to try the Pomodoro technique, but I think that I'm too autistic or too ADHD for it to work because I keep forgetting that it exists.
That does happen. It's there's a bit of a like on the horse type thing. All right, another win for me from DQuack is their sleep cycle is no longer sleeping during the day. They fixed their sleep cycle. Nice.
All right. Dub.
Okay. Let's see. Win of the week.
Fixing your sleep cycle takes forever to do too. Like I'm actually envious.
Mm-hmm.
I have a weird sleep cycle right now where I wake up at like 5 a.m. But not the good kind of waking up at 5 a.m. to like hit the grind, but just like you just wake up and then you're just like, you too?
I too wake up at 5 a.m. every day. It's not intentional. There is a small gremlin that lives in my house that forces me to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning.
I don't have that excuse. I don't have a small gremlin.
Yeah, I do have, like, my bad sleeping habit has always been that I wake up too early, not that I go to bed too late, and I always, like, will wake up at, like, 4 or 5 in the morning after going to bed at, like, midnight and feel like crap all day. Eve says that their win of the week is getting their office cleaned by hiding most things in the closet. It doesn't belong there, but my stuff does. Perfect. That's what closets are made for. Mia confirmed for Zoomies. You have Zoomies?
I do have the Zoomies on my electric scooter.
Yeah. The only thing
a lot of people at my office are like they look at me as if I'm like weird for taking, because I can fold it up and bring it into my office. Mm-hmm. It's so practical.
I've always been like, I've always wanted to get an e-bike, which is a similar concept. The only thing is that they're like, here's this thing. By the way, you know that 7 months of the year where snow is on the ground? Can't use it. I'm sure that's true with the scooter too. But
yeah.
But you live in like a city, like a proper city where like probably the sidewalks are actually regularly shoveled when it snows.
Yeah.
So you might be okay.
I'm on the commission that actually administers snow shoveling.
Nice.
Because someone has apparently to be in charge of that. Mm-hmm. And so they have 13 politicians to oversee it. Bureaucracy is great. Definitely not a waste.
Beeping is good. Me encouraging my friends' pet birds. Yeah, it's okay. Everyone thinks it's not. The electrodes aren't shocking me. It's their sensors. They're not. I'm not getting like electrocuted or anything.
Yeah, the beep are electroshock. It's electro shocks. Yeah. Beep 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 beep.
It's funny because like there is beeping involved when I took a first aid course recently, and there's like the defibrillator machines Lots of beeping with
Mm-hmm.
those. Because they're basically designed to allow a complete idiot to be able to defibrillate somebody. So you literally open up and there's just a big green button and you push it and it talks you through everything that you're supposed to do. It's like, do this. Don't do that. Let's see. What we got? We got so many more wins.
It's such a wholesome segment. I love it.
I do. I feel like it sets us off on a very good feeling. But it does seem like we have hit our oh, someone got their surgery referral appointment for orchidectomy. Which I don't know what that. I assume that's when you get an orchid surgically removed from your body, but
That's right. Well, kind of.
Ah, okay.
You're not wrong, euphemistically.
Ah, yes. Okay. Well done.
Which I've learned very quickly to never Google the names of surgeries.
Yeah. Okay. Well done. That sounds good. I hope that's for good reasons and not like that some sort of disease reasons. But even so, I guess that is a step in the right direction. So.
Speaking of disease reasons, to just raise the mood even more, did you hear that Hank Green got a letter from Joe Biden?
No, I did not know that.
He got a letter from Joe Biden about like, you are in our prayers. We hope you recover from cancer.
Yeah, that's wild. It's like the one name that Joe Biden remembers from his entire time in the Obama administration was that one time Hank Green went to interview Obama. And Joe Biden's just like, Hank Green.
Let's write a letter to someone. Hank Green.
Okay. Now, I feel like before we get into the questions, we need to have our ultimate discourse, which is, if anyone doesn't know this, a very important event happened yesterday, which is at the Summer Game Fest or Summer Game Jam or Summer Game something. A thing where people talk about games that are like, what I never know any of these events where it's like, this happened at D13 or A12 or PAX Q or like any of these like things where it's just like, it's the thing where a bunch of video game trailers show up. Cool.
Yeah.
But the most important event in the history of the 21st century, I believe, happened.
Yeah. Nothing more important has ever happened.
Yeah, which is that there was the announcement of a game by the name of Star Trek Infinite, which is a Paradox, not just Paradox published, Paradox like main studio published game in collaboration with Paramount, doing a Star Trek 4X game that is going to be set apparently in the. So the nerds have like really broken it down, but it seems like it's going to be a 4X game, and it seems it's going to cover a very crucial and like impactful time in Star Trek history that gets like almost no actual coverage, which is sort of the 20-ish years before TNG. And the playable factions will be the Klingons, Romulans, Federation, and Cardassians. And
yeah.
if you know your lore, that period was when the Cardassians and the Federation went to war. That was during the like fight against Bajoran occupation. That was when I think the Romulans started getting onto thin ice with the Federation. And also,
that's when the neutral zone starts to be violated.
Yeah, and I think that's also when like the Klingons and the Federation's alliance being very new was put to the test, and they had the Enterprise C incident that really clinched it.
Like, I'm so fucking excited for this video game. Victoria 3 got me going. Crusader Kings 3 got me going. This video game is going to make me bounce through the fucking walls, and I hope that this is not going to be stuck in development hell for like a long time, because I will lose my fucking mind because like they already know how to make good Grand Starter games. Like that's their whole thing. They made Stellaris, which is also like a pretty good game at this fucking point. And there's a part of me that's just like, because I know they want to make Stellaris 2. So like, what is this Stellaris 2?
Maybe.
And they're just because like I'm a grand strategy game set in the Star Trek universe, and like
Yeah.
if they're limiting it to 4 factions, they can flesh those factions out because you don't need to go full sandbox with it. You
Yeah,
know what I
and you
mean?
can
Like
also
they can just
DLC
like
the
give
shit
it
out of it
character.
too. Like you can have your Gamma Quadrant DLC, your Delta Quadrant DLC, your all Breen all the time DLC,
Yes,
Packlid DLC.
yes. And I see this is perfect.
Yep.
Yes. This is the best video game. It will be the best video game, and I can't wait to play it. I will break down the doors of Paradox Interactive, um, and make them give it to me.
Yeah, if they kill this like they killed that, they were gonna make that sort of like, what was it? It was like a Hearts of Iron spin-off game that was gonna be Cold War focused that they killed at one point.
Yeah.
If they do this to that, I'll be very upset. But I feel like Paradox is. That was back when Paradox still didn't even release games that worked.
Yeah.
I remember like their last release before Crusader Kings 2 really took off their company was what was it? It was like some like turn-based Confederate like Civil War game where it was like it was like the American Civil War with mechs, and apparently was completely unplayable. So it just flat out didn't work. Either way, Paradox now sometimes releases games that actually work when they're released. Not all the time. Apparently, the new Victoria 3 DLC is kind of rough, but
It's not great.
apparently,
I'm sad to say it's not great.
apparently, if you have like 2 agitators in your country, they can just do whatever the fuck they want to your laws. I'm like, oh, neat.
Yeah. Do you live in a very progressive country where like everything is going pretty well, but you have one guy who's like, maybe we don't have rights for women, and suddenly you don't.
Lovely.
Like you will have a civil war over this issue that no one cared about before that one guy came in. And I get that that's what they're trying to do. But you know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that Civil War mechs game was for Paradox. Was it called BattleTech? No, that's a newer game.
That looks like kicks ass. So apparently it's not developed by Paradox itself. It's being published by Paradox.
That's
But I feel like
the Star Trek game. I thought it was like, I'm pretty sure it was like Paradox main, but could be wrong.
so. I mean, I'm just reading from what I'm seeing on IGN.
Okay.
Um, my lovely partner is bringing me burgers. Thank you. Thank you, honey. But what I can see from this, it's being developed by Quantum League. No, sorry, Nimble Giant Entertainment,
Interesting.
and they have made Master of Orion,
Oh, okay. That's fine.
which is fine. Like they made a pretty good fucking like Master of Orion is a pretty good game, and like Master of Orion but Star Trek and meant better and newer, published by Paradox, who know how to make grand strategy games. Like fuck yeah.
Yeah. It's
Fuck yeah.
a Star Trek, an official Star Trek grand strategy game is coming out, which like in the long history of Star Trek games has like, it seems that for some reason for the last like 3 decades, everyone decided that all people want from Star Trek games are first person shooters, which seems like the least good thing to make a Star Trek game about.
Because like people who watch Star Trek and who are into Star Trek to the point where they want to play video games about it, they are the ones who they know what the neutral zone is. They care about diplomacy between the various factions. They care about this type of shit.
Yeah. I feel like now there's some people who are making Star Trek games that actually get what the point of Star Trek is. And it's this, and also the fact that they have an official Star Trek Telltale game that came out recently. Called like, I think Star Trek Resurgence or something like that.
What?
Yeah.
How do I not know this?
Because well, Telltale like went out of business and then all of a sudden came back, and they got a bunch of really big licenses, and the big ones that they got were Star Trek and The Expanse.
Star Trek Resurgence. What the fuck? It's out now, and I have.
Well, you know now, Swedes, you know what your taxpayer dollars are going to go towards in a few minutes.
That's right. I'm buying it. I'm buying this right now. Well, no, I'm not actually, because it's gonna take too long, and I'm gonna have to do it. God, fuck yeah. Well, I know what I'm doing.
Nice. But yeah, at least
That's-
like I feel like these two concepts actually get what they're going for, because like I tried playing Star Trek Online once, and I know it has its fans, but I've never seen a game that understands what Star Trek is about less, because it's about captaining ships and blowing up stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never been engaged in Star Trek's combat ever.
No, it's not. It's not great. Like the MMO is not wonderful. Which is why I'm a lot more excited for this grand strategy thing, because I feel like that could be a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like get the point of how do you say? Oh yeah, like you said, like Star Trek.
Yeah. Now,
I'm
important
excited,
question
bro.
is, what's your first playthrough?
Oh, well, okay. That depends. That depends very much. I feel like the Federation is going to be like the default,
Yeah.
because of course. But I feel like the people I'm probably going to like immediately after like the tutorial one is the Klingons,
Oh, interesting.
and kick some Romulan ass. You know?
Yeah.
How about you?
Makes sense. My guess is that I'd probably play as the Cardassians, because that is where I'm going to get the most amount of D Space Nine references. So I was thinking that the Cardassians, and also I feel like if the game is going to be worth its salt, it's going to have to do some cool stuff around the Bajoran occupation, and I see how that works.
If it takes place 20 years before, and it's a grand strategy game. Grand strategy games typically take a long, like some time in universe,
Mhm.
right? Stellaris takes place over like 200 to 300 years, and that's probably not what's going to happen. But Masters of Orion still like takes a little bit of time, and I can't imagine that like. What I'm saying here is that, like I would like Bajorans to take over Deep Space Nine and like have that thing happen.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, have the Deep Space Nine happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like the Bajorans to get independence, like, and that have that be like a narrative thing, like that would kick my ass.
And I mean, it does at least going to progress. It is going to progress at some point, because the trailer features the Borg, and the Borg don't show up until the first episode of. Well, it doesn't show up until the first episode of TNG, or or the really random other story about where the Elorians got defeated by the Borg and became refugees. That happened when the Enterprise B was commissioned in the thing that makes no sense at all, but.
Before they figured out how to handle the Borg and like what the Borg even was.
I guess, is that the thing, is like they were the Borg, but they didn't know what they were, and so they were just a mystery for a long time? Because like the timeline doesn't match up for like the Elorians, the Guinan species. It always says that their planet was destroyed by the Borg, but then the first contact with the Borg happens in the like first episode of TNG, and that doesn't line up because Whoopi is already there. And we now know, because of Star Trek Generations, that there was a refugee ship of Elorians back then. I don't know. Also, that Guinan was on Earth in the 19th century with Mark Twain. So it goes all over the place.
It goes weird. Star Trek does not make inherent sense, and I love that about it.
Well, I think it speaks more to the fact that this period specifically is very unexplored. That sort of after the TOS movies, but before the TNG period, is a time where we know a lot of conflict happened, and a lot of like geopolitical advancements happened. Because until 1989 or whatever, or until I don't remember what year it was anymore, but there were several years where TNG was on the air, and the Federation and the Klingons becoming allies was just off screen, and they never told you anything about it. And all we really have of that period is the undiscovered country.
Oh, there's no news. There's no news about Star Trek outside of the teaser trailer.
Yeah, they're holding it until Captain Picard Day, which is a week from today.
I can't wait. Like I can't fucking wait.
No. And if they're and
I wonder how far along it is in development because Paradox typically
yeah, that's usually about a
releases a
year.
game within a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we won't have that long to wait. And while we're waiting, we'll probably have like 1,000 dev diaries and random streams. And
For sure.
I do wonder if it's going to like I'm curious about how it's going to manage a bunch of different things. Like I just don't know what kind of game it's going to be. Like I don't know.
No idea.
Because it's like a
I'm
4X game where like the empires are already established, and so like the expand part of the 4X is not going to be there really.
yeah.
It's like playing Stellaris in starting in the mid game.
And I feel like they could do a lot of fun stuff with that. Do you know, like if because like if you're focusing on that specific part, like you're not doing the end game, you're not doing the like early game. You take away a lot of features. You can replace those with a lot of good features. I really liked Master of Orion, the 2016 version. And they're the people who made this.
I
So
don't actually
I'm
know too
hopeful.
much about Master of Orion, to be honest.
It's I mean like it's you develop your planets, you develop technology, you make your fleets. Like it's a very like typical thing. But one thing I do like about it is the fleets are a lot more like important in Master of Orion than they are in like Stellaris. Because in Stellaris you build like a million battleships and you don't know what any of them are because you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
In Master of Orion you can make a ship and you kind of have to design it and it won't change that much because you don't need to upgrade it as much. So you will have like the Defiant or
That's great. That works really well for Star Trek because I feel like Star
there's a lot of
Trek.
recognizable ships and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but also Star Trek doesn't like usually lend itself to like huge fleet battles, right? Like usually there's skirmishes between a couple ships. Like it's very much like naval combat where like two ships run into each other and they might not even sink. And like that would be cool. And then there'll be the stealth mechanics and oh god, there's so many things. I hope it's a 4X game with a diplomacy victory condition because it's Star Trek. Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't be able to win as the Federation if it wasn't for that.
You'd have to, like yeah, there's because even Stellaris has tried to make diplomacy like a thing that works and it doesn't.
Yeah.
You can play as federations there and you can do all that shit, but it doesn't matter because you can't win. The game isn't like built for it. I think in Master of Orion you can do that. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I always think about like Civilization as like a 4X game that's got a lot of different victory conditions. And like the main thing is that the thing about Paradox games is that really they're not designed to be one, but
Yeah.
then it just lends to everybody wanting to paint the map with whatever their color is. So that's a thing.
They're made to keep going.
Yeah. You play it until your CPU can't handle the state of the game that you're in, and then you start over because everything's lagging too hard.
That's right.
Do you think it'll be? Do you think that this is the thing? Because like, is Master of Orion turn based, or is it like the kind of pausable turn thing, like with a Paradox game?
But yeah, it's possible in real time.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. And it has a pretty like decent diplomacy system too.
Nice.
And like again, like I can't. Oh no, it is turn based actually. Never mind, I was wrong.
So who knows what kind of thing we'll get out of this? But I don't know. I don't know what kind of it would be. We don't know that much information until next week, obviously.
No.
So we don't know if we'll be able to do cool things like establish Tellarite supremacy or I don't know. Play out scenarios like a Federation heel turn or something like that.
I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, we're chewing a lot on a very little because they were just like, here's a thing that exists. Trekkies, lose your shit for a week and then come back.
And we did it. We are doing it. We are dutifully obeying.
We don't get good Star Trek games don't happen very often.
Yeah.
And
let's hope this one is good.
Yeah. Man,
That's
if this ends up being
you know?
like what was that Napoleon grand strategy game that Paradox made that everyone instantly forgot about? March of the Eagles or something like that?
Oh yeah, March of the Eagles. I feel like they had a few. I feel like Paradox had a phase a while ago where they had a few hits, and then they were like, "Cool, we can just keep doing this. We can just keep like cranking out hits." And then they realized, like, no, you can't actually do that. You need to put in effort. And then they made Stellaris and Crusader Kings and Victoria, and now it's going a little bit better. But I feel like they're like transitioning out of like just cranking out shit. Phase.
Yeah, their first success after the release of CK2 was EU4, which I think came out about a year after Crusader Kings 2 came out. If I get my timeline right, I think EU4 came out in like 2013 and then Crusader Kings came out in 2012. Which is
that sounds about right.
11 years ago.
Good lord.
And then I'm also realizing that like Stellaris, which was probably the Paradox game I got the most hyped for, came out originally 7 years ago this May.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it might be time in the cycle to make a new one of those. And it would be cool if this ends up being like their a thing they are making while they're like making a new Stellaris engine or something. That'd be pretty neat.
It may be. Like a lot of people have been asking for a Stellaris too. I'm very looking forward to City Skylines too.
Oh yeah. How? I have a question about City Skylines. And I don't know if this is going to be the case because I feel like I've literally seen people complain about it for not this, and it makes me want a city builder that does this. Every city builder does a few things that make all of their cities look ridiculous, which is one, demolishing things doesn't cost money. It's just free. You can just demolish anything you want. Two, you're building every city you get gets built from scratch, and the actual resources that you have don't matter. And three, like, you can't, there's not a lot of like repurposing. And so like cities don't look like they actually have people who live in them, where like you have to like build upon like Stockholm. Stockholm is like an over 1,000-year-old city at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and they have
I
to,
think so.
and you have to deal with the fact that you've got a ton of like heritage buildings and a bunch of like, and that it costs a fuckload of money to just like demolish buildings. And there's like different factors at play. And I'm like, why is there no city builder that's like about trying to build a city over the generations, while like you can't just like tear down every building or just like start with a blank field and then make a city come out of it, but you have to like get like a sort of like, you know, starting with like an early colonial village that then gets like, you know, beefed up into something that's like, as technology progresses, you have to kind of like build on the things, and I don't know.
Yeah. I think you might like Workers and Resources Soviet Republic.
Oh man.
Because like they're adding a feature where demolishing buildings is the thing you need to do, and also maintaining vehicles and buildings. So like wear and tear becomes a thing. It's not quite the level of complexity that I think most people would like, but it is by far the most complex city builder game out there. I know that City Skylines 2 wants to be like the new, like the most realistic city builder that they've ever made. So I'm looking forward to see how that's gonna work. I'm hopeful, honestly. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, because I would love to see like a city builder that deals with that kind of stuff and deals with like the fact that cities are so shaped by different transit priorities and like appealing to different voting demographics and real estate speculation and like all of these different things. Like how do you like imagine like the challenge of like being able to navigate a small American city with all of the pressures to move to a car-centric city, and you want to like not do that.
I'm really hopeful. There were some leaked DLC. There were some leaked pictures from the current build, and even that looks very promising. Because like they said something about like the achievements that would be available, and one of them is rat infestation.
Okay.
So it's like, if how do you simulate rats? First of all, I hope it's advanced and not just like
Every single rat is simulated.
every rat.
Like, what's it called?
But
They simulate the average percentage that your citizens might accidentally spill some cereal in the cupboard and forget to pick it all up. And then they have to simulate how many of them have cats who take care of the issue for them.
yeah.
But also a percentage of those cats are too cowardly to actually deal with the rats.
If you run this computer on any if you run this game on anything other than like an NSA supercomputer, your house explodes. But I want that though. I want that level of complexity.
You just want to run a city.
I just want to run the city. That's why I went into politics. I crave power. But they might have mixed. I saw some interesting pictures on the because in City Skylines. Now we're just talking about games. We talked about games. I hope you're okay with this, by the way.
Yeah, we got questions, but they're there.
Oh, that's good. Because in Crusader Kings 1, no, sorry, in City Skylines 1, different game. There's no mixed units. Right? Like there's housing, there's commercial, there's industry. But a major thing about cities, especially modern cities, is mixed use, right? Like especially when you have like 3 or 4 story buildings. Street level is some sort of like shop, and the rest is housing. But you can't build that in City Skylines. But in the leaked pictures, that have been that like got leaked, they have the zoning tool, and they have like the yellow for industry, the green for housing, and the blue for commercial, and they have a purple one, like a purple pink one. And I think that is mixed use. I think that is mixed zoning.
It's pretty cool. Does it factor for? Does like the game have like a deal with like economic ups and downs, where like if a depression happens in the wider world, like there might be like building vacancies and like houselessness becomes a problem and like.
So not the first one, but the second one implies that that's a thing that should happen. Okay. The second, like the pictures also like imply that like the wider economy is like something we need to take into consideration. So maybe.
Interesting.
Possibly.
And like,
and because it's like you can already mod City Skylines 1 to shit, right? Like you can mod it out the wazoo, and it seems that like a lot of the things that they want to add as like baseline are going to be added, because like realistic population is not a thing in the first game, right? Like you have a house and 4 families live in it. But you can mod that. You can easily mod that, and cities change very drastically depending on like the population density of housing. And I think new one is going to be either take that into account, or it's just going to be like in the base game might have realistic populations in it. So like a skyscraper is going to have hundreds of families living in it, and cause havoc on your traffic.
That sounds wild. Does the game factor like? This is the thing I always had with Sim City that I always like was like weird about, was just like you're building a city out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, well, why does the city exist? Because this is where you're building the city. Like it's not like, oh, this is like I feel like cities would like have a lot of like what makes a city, the challenges it has and what kind of things it has, have a lot to deal with things like landscape, to deal with like with resources and logistics. Like a city that built itself up around like a coal mine would look a lot different than like a city that built itself up over being near a natural harbor and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I hope. I remain hopeful. We'll see how successful that hope is, but I'm remain hopeful. It seems like they're actually like it seems like they're looking forward to to making it because they've had such success with the first one.
Nice. Yeah.
Until then, Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Ugh.
Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Okay, let me. There is a couple city builders that I've been a little bit more interested in lately. I was thinking of getting Timberborn at some point.
Oh.
Which is the city builder where you're a bunch of beavers who are running a city or building a city out of wood. But like the big thing about it is that you have to manage the river that runs through it, and it's all about like building dams and hydrological management and irrigation and that kind of stuff.
I think that I never got really into it, but I think they could. I think it's probably good, but I just never got that much into it, unfortunately.
Okay. But yeah, I do think that there's got to be a space for, because it seems like the city builder genre is a genre that is built a lot around. It tries to be like very realistic, but doesn't seem to really, because I guess people always want to design their cities from scratch, and doesn't really acknowledge that nobody ever designs a city from scratch. There's never, unless you're like part of like some strange like Chinese development project. It's very rare that a city is, somebody just says a city here. And that cities are very much like living and dynamic things that change in weird and unpredictable ways. And I don't know if a city builder's ever like really played with that part of urban planning. Just have the most accurate where you have to like propose a plan, like propose a change, and every time you like change one of the squares to a different use, you have to take it to council and watch if it passes or fails. And
yeah.
And it takes,
and then it gets on my desk, baby.
Yeah, the game takes 6 years to pass like 1 year of content, because every single building you have to build has to go to council and get approved, and there's like a committee that wants to stop you because it's too close to, it's green energy too close to houses. And then there's like the neighborhood that develops a conspiracy theory about you and about how like your plans are, like you try to build a good city and they're like, oh, you're trying to keep us all locked down, so we're going to go and protest, like just all that kind of insane shit that is part of municipal politics.
Yeah. I would love it.
Yeah, the rule of the game is that you propose things and then it goes to Mia, and Mia has to approve every project you go through.
Yeah, for every single player. In real time. If I'm asleep, you have to wait.
Mia's sleeping. You just wake up in the day and say yes, 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 no.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's going to adversely affect the environment of this water table. So, the wonderful creator Do Not Eat has a video on the industrial DLC for City Skylines, where he talks about that. He starts it off by saying that City Skylines is a game where you have been appointed by the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping to build up an industrial base and worker housing for the state capitalist exploitation of this ore mine. Glory to the Chinese system and state capitalism.
Yeah, actually, like my whole gripe about this comes from the Franklin series, which is one of the best like history series on YouTube that no one's heard of.
Oh, good.
And Franklin shows exactly the kind of, because he even like frames it as like, this is the places where City Skylines and like a lot of these city builders run short, is that they don't factor all these things. And he builds a city from like a like Lenape village to a modern city and all of the sort of issues that come up, and teaches a whole bunch of American history along the way.
It's so fucking good.
At that point, though, I got the idea that at that point he's not actually playing City Skylines. He's just like using modeling tools to basically make a model city, and it isn't actually like playing as a game anymore. It's just sort of like a model creation.
A lot of people use City Skylines like that. Because you can give yourself an infinite amount of money and give all your citizens like perfect needs so that they don't complain, and then just place out like custom images, custom like models of buildings, have them placeable anywhere, no collision with other things, so you can set out your structures however you want, make fake roads so that people can be connected as a walk, connected however they want. It's really fucking good.
Nice.
It's such a good game sometimes, and I love that that's why they release these like creator content packs occasionally on the City Skylines like thing, because a lot of them I never use, but they're really useful for people who like are casually into using it as a model playset, but might not have space in their apartment to actually make their own. But you can make it. You can make it there. You can make your own model train set in City Skylines.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's good.
That does sound pretty. I think I need to like because I played a fuckload of SimCity 2000 when I was a kid, and I never really. I tried playing the really terrible SimCity game, and I hated it, and I never really like rediscovered my love for the city building games. And this new, and kind of for the same reason that I like never really latched on to Minecraft super well either. And it seems that like now there's this new genre of, I think what people are saying in the chat, calling survival city planner or city builders, where it's like city building, but you have like a point. Like for me with Minecraft, once I get past the point where I've got the pickaxes and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, now I can just kind of do whatever I want. And I'm like, what is that? What is whatever I want? What do I want to do? And that's sort of where I lose my steam to play more Minecraft.
I get it. I do hope that I will end up having more energy to play video games if I get my ADHD meds.
Yeah, I'd love to reclaim a little bit of time to play games.
You got to do that. You got it.
I'm not gonna have a toddler forever. Okay.
That sounds ominous, but obviously isn't.
Yeah, at some point he'll be a kid and have his own video games that he wants to play, and then once he discovers video games, I don't have to worry about being a good parent anymore because the video game will do it.
Yeah, gotta indoctrinate him into Crusader Kings early.
Yeah.
I got my partner to play Crusader Kings, and now she's obsessed. She's playing it right now.
Well, I was really fascinated by that Paradox YouTuber Kara.
I've heard the name, I think.
She did this whole story about how she got into Paradox games through Crusader Kings, which she was turned on to because she thought it was similar to The Sims, and I was like,
yes,
interesting.
Yes.
That is quite an approach to like the vector from The Sims to Crusader Kings makes sense in a very strange way. And now Paradox is just making its own Sims game. It's also going to be super moddable and
here's hoping. God.
They said from the ground up that it's going to be ridiculously moddable.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be good. I fear it won't be, but I hope it's going to be good.
Yeah. Should we answer some questions?
Let's answer some questions, my dear friend.
All right. This is a question from the Orange Man. And
Hello, Orange Man.
It requires that I say a Swedish word with a... How do you pronounce the A with a circle over it? What's the A with a circle over it?
Oh.
Okay. And I know from the people playing Stellaris on stream that J is a Y sound, right?
Yeah, it depends on the context, but generally, yeah.
Okay, so does Blåhaj deserve its fame?
Great, you did so good.
Okay, good. Does Blåhaj deserve its fame, or is there a plushie from IKEA that's better at trans representation?
No, it's either that or Jungelskog, the big ass bear.
I don't know what this is. Why is there is there a trans plushie at IKEA?
Okay, so the trans community has for some reason, and I don't know why, I was not consulted on this, has adopted Blåhaj, which is a blue shark, Blåhaj blue shark, which is a big plushie and a big shark that looks like a big doofus.
Okay.
That is very snuggleable, and has adopted that as sort of like an icon for the trans community. And I don't know much more than that because when back in my day, because I've been out as trans now for a fucking decade, as opposed to these younglings with their blowhigh. Back in my day, we had Jungelskog, which is this big plush bear as a trans icon. But then they changed, for some reason, they changed to the fucking blowhigh. And I don't know why, because they did it right after I got my Jungelskog.
Just to say, like, I can't believe that they've all latched onto this blowhigh after I got my Jugendskug is like the most silly sentence I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, Swedish is not a wonderful language. Apparently, one time a trans girl had one with her when she was in the hospital, and then became like a meme. That's nice.
That's cute.
Yeah, I love sharks, so I get it.
Oh, it's also because the shark is pink, blue, and white.
That's right. That's true. You're right. I fucking love blowhigh though. I don't have one, unfortunately, but I do have a Jugendskog.
Okay. I did not know about these intense politics of IKEA plushies. I didn't even know IKEA sold plushies. I thought they were a furniture store.
They sell toys too.
Okie dokie. And
they also sell a lot of food.
Oh, I know about they have the restaurants. I once randomly bought tea there.
They have a grocery store section.
Okay, what is IKEA doing? What is this store?
You can buy Swedish food. By the end, you know? Like, you can buy the cafe. Not the restaurant, because the restaurants is another thing. But, like, there's a cafe out beyond the register where they sell you, like, hot dogs and, like, light snacks. And also have a grocery store section where they sell frozen food and, like, biscuits and soda.
This is wild. I don't understand this at all. It's just Swedish Walmart? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
I thing is, like, I lived, I think I told you this. I live in a city, or I grew up in a city that was basically only known for the fact that it has, like, the only IKEA in Ontario. And I've been there several times, and I always just like, oh, it's a place you go to get Bloomhaven, which is the, you know, it's like a thing it's like a weird shaped thing that you put your feet on or something. Like, I don't know. I said Bloomhaven. It's a little wooden shelf you put all your miniatures on for playing a very, very overpriced board game. Anyways, okay, so we like a strange shark. Okay,
we love the shark. We love the shark.
Actually,
what was the question about the shark?
Is it good trans representation?
Yes.
The shark.
I think a lot of people for some fucking reason are really haters about this because they're like, oh, it's fucking childish, fucking like Reddit T-words being like childish, like chronically online. But at the same time, let people have fun.
Also,
and it's a shark. Hurts literally no one. Like, who gives a shit? It's a good thing because it hurts no one, helps everybody, it goes to the economy, makes people happy. Like, it's cute.
And I don't know if this is just because of the personal bias of the people that I've seen, but being trans and being chronically online are intertwined concepts.
Getting roasted by Tristan.
It's like, yeah, when you come out especially as a trans girl, you have to learn how to become chronically online, shitpost on the internet, play Paradox games, and mix electronic music. Isn't that like the things you do?
Yes, exactly.
It's your culture sports.
We have a biological distinctive advantage to make electronica.
Okay, in the historical novel I just finished, there's a bit where the characters are traveling through some of the mountains and they're on guard because, though they're still technically in the Roman Empire, they know the imperial government doesn't actually have much practical control over tribes in remote locations like mountains. Okay? It kind of made me wonder, when did it actually become possible for states to impose control over the entirety of the territory they claim? Like into the 19th century, it was still possible for groups like escaped slaves to set up their own independent societies in remote locations without technically leaving what was considered the United States. Oof.
You can still do that today.
Yeah.
Like depending on where you are and how you do it.
There are still
People still do.
Even like now fair, this is the largest border in the world, or the largest undefended land border on Earth. But I have at one point been like with friends driving in the woods, and we accidentally wound up in Vermont, and we had to explain to the border guard that we were in the woods and somehow wound up in the United States. Like I would say that probably the things that really pushed this on was like the developments in transportation technology, like trains and cars and stuff like that, are definitely big roles in centralizing states and centralizing authority in states. Because like a lot of like the western frontier of the United States was fairly like you're fairly far away from any control of the central state. But then as the rail line started to come through, it started like they started wresting control very quickly. But still, there are still like hinterland in a bunch of different places. Like I bet you could. There's parts of Canada where you could start an entire civilization and no one would notice because there's no roads that go there and there's no, the only time is that like maybe in like 100 years someone might come there to chop down some wood. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does say a very interesting thing about states and the way that we conceive of states that does get sort of missed, which is the whole idea that, oh no, I think I'm getting some drop frames.
I don't know.
Hopefully it'll work itself out. All right, it looks like we're good now. All right, sweet. All right, so like the thing is that when we conceive of states, because we live in such a state-centered society, and because like we're in this like we live in it, we like what's it called? We live in this very non-anarchist society, which means that we conceive of like countries as these like unbreakable units of existence, to the point where we try in vain to draw maps of medieval Europe, and these maps make no sense because borders as we know of them didn't really exist.
Yeah.
And this lets us reconceive that at the end of the day, a country, a state, is really just an organization that claims ownership over territory, and it can really only own that territory insofar as it can actually maintain that control.
Yeah.
So that's
well, a fun thing that like people speaking of like borders in the Middle Ages, that the thing that like fucked me up a little bit is like the only thing that really mattered whether or not like a certain individual in a town or village lived in a state or in a kingdom. The only way that mattered was in terms of like tax collection, right? And if you lived in a borderland area, like you could be doubly taxed, because like one lord might come and collect taxes, and then like another lord could do the same and just claim that you belong to them. And unless you pay up, now you have a war.
Well, like
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it leads to stuff like one of the like paradoxes is based around the idea that borders are sacrosanct and nothing can change. And it leads to the fact that one of the things that luckily nobody ever gets to the end of a Crusader Kings campaigns, they never had to simulate, but the kinds of issues that led to the 100 Years' War, where you had a king of England who also happened to be the Duke of Aquitaine, but as the Duke of Aquitaine, they were under feudal management by the King of France, but as the King of England, they were on equal footing, but still Aquitaine was still part of France. And
yes,
that was a perfectly legitimate thing to exist in a time. It's definitely not a politically stable way to manage things, but it was a way that the feudal order could arrange things.
It was a way that things could work.
Yeah.
Very poorly and very badly, and it never should, but it does. or did.
Yeah.
This is why we moved away from feudalism, folks.
Yeah.
Well,
That and all the wars.
that and a bunch of revolutions.
Yeah, that and the general crisis. But yeah, like the states really like we have to stop thinking about states as like this country is default what this territory is, and more just like this is the organization that says it owns this area. All right. Next we got what do you think the next time the Tories are in power they will try and ban how to blow up a pipeline? I'm earnestly convinced they will do so. So this is very Canadian here. So How to Blow Up a Pipeline is it's a movie.
A good book.
A movie based on a book, I guess. I think there is a movie based on it, the book now coming out.
Oh.
But, is there not? Yeah. How to Blow Up a Pipeline. It came out last year. And it's about a group of activists who are trying to disrupt an oil pipeline. And and the thing is that like the Alberta government, our mini petro state inside the has actually set up a war room to try and counter all anti-oil propaganda, essentially. To the point where they started going after a kids movie on Netflix that was like about Sasquatch because it was portraying oil companies as evil.
Oh, come on.
And yeah,
He's a piece of shit.
And so, if a conservative party came to power,
companies try to be normal for once.
So that's the thing that's going to stick out about Canada is that our conservatives are more than I think other conservatives obsessed with hating the environment. Like that is the singular focus of
want to destroy it.
Yes, and so doing something like banning how to blow up a pipeline would totally be under because they'll be like it incites violence against sovereign people. Pipelines are people.
The real indigenous population of Canada.
The oil. You
think
about the oil was there long before the people were.
Yes. Can't argue that. Land back to oil.
But I feel like if
we need to stop giving them ideas.
Yeah. The thing about Canada is that if it was possible to give oil personhood, the Conservative Party would do it. They are like Gollum with the fucking ring when it comes to oil. They're so obsessed with it, and like hardcore conservatives in this country are almost obsessed with their hatred of the environment, and they're wanting to destroy the environment at all costs. It's fucking crazy. Like there's not even a pretense towards it. Anyways, yeah, and also our current Conservative Party leader, Paul Poilievre, is like kind of trying to do more culture war bullshit to try and get enough votes in the GTA to beat Trudeau.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem is that he got more votes than Trudeau in the last two elections. But because so much of his vote is concentrated in Alberta and Saskatchewan, like it isn't spread out enough amongst enough districts for him to actually get power.
Yeah, because you have a fucked up voting system.
Oh yeah. So the current party that has the current party that is governing has something like 40% of seats and won something like 32% of the popular vote or something crazy like that.
Great, wonderful foundation for a stable society.
Yeah, the last two elections have been. I think with the exception of 2015, every election since 2011 have set records for party winning with the lowest amount of the popular vote.
Oligarchy based.
Yeah. So that's sort of where we're at this point.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I apologize so much for the state that you're in. Although I should say, like, maybe that system does work better because here, coalition government, more representative, also encourages coalitions with fascists. So, potato.
Yeah, like the thing is, like right now we have something that's. So here's the worst part, and this will make you have a fucking migraine. Is that there was a point a little while back where. When the Liberals were getting a chain of minority governments, which is when they have the government but they don't have a majority of seats, that there was talk of having the New Democrats and the Liberals make a coalition government in order to make sure that at the time Stephen Harper didn't get in power. But Stephen Harper managed to, with like a PR campaign, convince Canadians that there's something undemocratic about coalition governments. And that coalition
I remember that.
And now we're like poisoned against the concept of coalition governments. And now, while we have what is basically supposed to be a coalition government, we just have an agreement between the Liberals and the NDP that if the NDP got some concessions, then the Liberals can rely on their support for some things. And instantly the Liberals started fucking up that relationship. So, you know, it's politics.
Right. I hate that, but also I feel like at the same time, I feel like if the Social Democrats ever decided to do one of those things of like coalition governments are fucking stupid, then they would become effectively become a dictatorship here, because they would always be the biggest party.
Well, you see,
they have always been.
That's sort of the story of Canada, is that Canada has, through its like 150 some years of existing, almost always, gosh, I think actually we're getting close to like 2067 is going to be our 200th anniversary. Through our history, almost like I think like something like 70% of the country's governments have been liberal. And we're kind of seeing right now like the breakdown of like this liberal hegemonic control of the country.
No.
Like at the provincial level, liberal parties are falling apart. Ontario's Liberal Party has like fallen apart, and now it's just New Democrats and Conservatives. And pretty much like the Liberal Party is basically dead in like all the prairie provinces. So it's even like and in like British Columbia, which is like our West Coast province, the Conservative Party doesn't exist, but the Liberals are basically just conservatives. So, you know, but like the thing is that the hegemon is falling apart, and like the idea that the Liberals, there was this whole concept in Canadian political studies of the red machine, which was that, and wait for this, it's the fucking worst take, the worst political take I've ever heard. The idea is that Canada is by default run by the Liberals. That the Liberals are they call themselves this, the natural governing party of Canada.
The natural borders of France, yes.
Yeah. Then, every once in a while, the red machine falls apart. And that's when the Conservatives take over for a while. And then once they reestablish the machine and they bring it back, then the natural governing party of Canada can return to power.
Good grift.
It's the worst political opinion I think I've ever heard in my life.
Yes. It is legitimately stupid.
But if you take like Canadian politics and stuff, like if you're a Canadian political scientist, this is like a very influential book that came out like a few decades ago.
The natural governing party.
Mm-hmm.
That's so stupid. I'm gonna declare myself the natural prime minister of Sweden and see how that works out for me.
Yeah, and the country is basically falling apart right now because all of the energy in opposing Trudeau's really shitty policies have gone into the right. Because the NDP refuses to fight ever. Like they have this like positive. Well, the NDP are supposed to be social democrats, but they have this very positive politics focus, and so they refuse to ever like
go on the offensive.
Yeah. And also they must have some sort of strategist involved that thinks that anytime they come close to winning an election, that if they just want to like get themselves over the hump, they need to start moderating their opinions, because they're under the idea that if they go too hard to the left, they'll lose votes. So
isn't that always the fucking deal though with like fucking social democratic like strategists too? Because like the party that I'm part of, like it's not a social democratic party, but then we have a lot of social democrats in the party, and the exact same thing fucking happened here. That's like right at the time you're polling high, everything is going great, suddenly you start moderating your fucking opinions, and then in the hopes of, I guess, to like get more votes, and then what happens is you lose votes.
Yeah,
because no one wants to vote for you anymore.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we got to like in the lead up to the election of Trudeau, We had the leader of the NDP, the most left-wing party of the three major parties, making a vow to balance the budget as being one of the major issues that we talked about. And it was just like, what? Like, Trudeau actually like outflanked the NDP on the left and used that to win, and then did what the Liberals do, which is just completely like ignore everything they ever promised instantly. Doesn't the Bloc Québécois also oppose basically every Liberal bill? Not all the ways. The Bloc Québécois have changed quite a bit since the mid-90s when they were just a like separatist party. The NDP is a weird, or the Bloc Québécois is a weird party in itself. Kind of like how I imagine the SNP is probably a weird party in and of itself. When you're dealing with separatists, there's like a lot of strange political allies you make in that situation. Bam.
I bet.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, how to blow up a pipeline. I could totally see them being like, we're going to get rid of all of these woke, like as soon as like Ron DeSantis style bullshit starts showing up in Canada, they're going to use it primarily to try and get rid of anything that, instead of like trying to get rid of like gay people existing, because anti-LGBT stuff is not that popular here. It doesn't fly very well, and anti-abortion stuff doesn't really fly very well here either. They'll use the same stupid arguments, and they'll use it to clamp down on pro-environmental stuff. Like, that is totally how they're going to do it. And it's one of the reasons that Canada is a shit country, but also is like, I think one of the top rated safe countries on earth for LGBT people to live. So
I've heard. Very positively hearing it. I'm glad to hear it.
I think the only countries that have like a over 90% rating on like LGBT safety are Denmark, Greenland, that's just cheating, and oh sorry, no, it was
just Denmark, I guess.
Yeah, it was Denmark, Iceland, and Canada.
Oh, cool. So 3 of them are Denmark.
3 of them are Denmark. Yeah.
In the top 4 ranking, 3 of them are Denmark. I don't know. Fucking Danes.
Are the Danish really good at gays? I don't know. They're really good at gays?
I guess so. I guess they are. Isn't Malta like really fucking good at that now?
I don't know. Malta is literally like run by like 12 people, so you just have to change like 2 people's opinion, and the country's like improves by quite a bit.
I guess so. Malta is run by 2 people. One of them is a tourist, who speak Arabic but pretend they're speaking Latin.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to Malta so bad.
There's some cool stuff on that island. I was about to say not the horror cheese. That's Sardinia.
The horror cheese. The nightmare cheese.
Is there any other way to call it than the horror or the nightmare cheese?
God.
Okay, let's see. Another video suggestion: early socialist communist movements in America, like the Transcendentalists and Oneida Community and Socialists during the Civil War. Okay. There's one thing YouTubers love. It's being told what videos to make.
Oh, yeah.
I'll write it down and take a look at it, but I get YouTube has pigeonholed me so much into very specific topics that now I'm like, every time I want to do like a real history video, it's like, oh, that's going to fail. Like somebody recommended the other day I do a video on the colonization of Hawaii, and I'm like, that would be very cool and very interesting, would completely tank on my channel because it's not about like modern day fascist movements or something.
Yeah.
It's not not part of the 6 topics I'm allowed to talk about. Because algorithms are mean. Okay. You talked about Chumash Tamols before and the Brotherhood of Tamol in Southern California. I don't know. Have I? I'm curious if you've heard of and what you think about the theory that the Tomol is evidence of contact with Polynesian people who make similar vessels. Tomol also seems to be a loan word from Polynesian languages. I'm obsessed with Polynesian contact in the Americas, and this theory seems very credible. Oh yeah, I did mention this in like an extremely old video, like a video I made back in 2016. Yeah, I think that there's like even some genetic evidence to suggest that there was probably some Polynesian contact in South America specifically with the Americas. It's just that the debate isn't whether it's ever happened, because it's definitely happened. Like if you look at Easter Island, there's some it's very close to Chile. The main question is whether it's been regular or not. And the general consensus is that it did happen, but it was like the occasional person who got lost. It was never like, like regular contact was happening between these people at any given time. Because there's just not enough stuff to imply that there was like any trade routes, and there's not enough DNA to imply that there was like, a regular influx of people from the two regions. Okay. Just like how there's probably, this is now highly disputed, but there was some there was some theories that there had been Inuit people captured in the Arctic by Norwegians, but there is probably pretty credible evidence that Norwegian sailors who were going fishing in the Arctic probably did see other Inuit sailors, because they did cross over the same waters at certain times.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah.
And then also, don't forget Leif Erikson.
Apparently, Nazis in North America celebrate Leif Erikson Day.
Oh yeah? Interesting. Why? Okay.
No idea.
So they arrived in Newfoundland and got their ass beat by the indigenous people and had to leave?
I guess some people wanted their own... how do you say... Columbus. It's like a Nordic Columbus.
I can understand if you thought Columbus did a good thing and not one of the worst things ever. That the idea of having to idolize a figure who is indeed Italian might be too much for some people. But idolizing Leif Erikson seems like the wrong way to go with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I appreciate the Friedophobia, but you don't have to worship the genocide or All right. Next question we got here is
Friedophobia. Is that what it's called?
Friedophobia.
Yeah.
It's a joke because there was I think it was during the 2020 election, somebody made fun of what's his name? Cuomo, and said the term Fredo. And he was just like, Fredo is a slur against Italian people. And everyone's like, are you really trying to say that like someone did anti-Italian racism in the year of our Lord 2020? And then so people turned it into like Friedophobia and started making like jokes about like, oh, we like have to like advocate for the civil rights of Italians.
God.
All right. The only Star Trek that ever held my attention was Lower Decks, and I'm curious of your thoughts. In general, how idealized is the Federation/Starfleet supposed to be? And where is Starfleet supposed to be on the military to civilian fleet continuum? On the military to civilian fleet continuum. Boy, you have just waltzed into one of the most choppy waters in Star Trek fandom. Is Starfleet a military?
Yes.
Yes, asterisk.
Objectively, yes.
Objectively, yes, asterisk. It'd be like, what if we had a military that whenever there wasn't a war, then turned into NASA? And that's what they're supposed to be.
Yes. That's a good way to say it. It's NASA with guns that they can use, but they don't.
Yeah. And there's whole things like how there's little signs of this in different parts of the lore that's really small, like how they say that phasers are they're not as powerful as disruptors, but they're much more controllable because phasers can be used to clean things and can be used to start fires and, as we've seen, heat rocks to create warmth. And so phasers are supposed to have a bit more utility as tools.
Oh, that explains so much.
So that's basically the idea. Is supposed to be that yes, Starfleet acts as a military, but Starfleet isn't like a standing army. It's supposed to be like this is our things that we do for science and diplomacy and stuff like that, but they are ready to turn into military ships if we need them to be, basically.
They're like the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Like they have a civilian job that they mostly do, but technically they're military.
Yes, and they very often,
most of the time they just like do other things.
Yeah, and very often when you like learn about Starfleet officers, like their primary interest in joining Starfleet is to like do science and explore things.
Yeah.
And anytime there is a Starfleet officer who's like, I'm here actually about the military aspect, they're usually the villain. They're usually the evil admiral.
It's funny that
Admiral Nechayev.
They all have to learn military tactics though, just in case.
Yeah.
Like they're there to do science and diplomacy and philosophy, but they need to learn how to fight just in case.
Well, yeah. Well, as we also learn about Starfleet officers, is they're trained in proficiency with literally everything. Anytime we have to learn about another thing that they learned as basic Starfleet training, it just comes up like it's absurd how many skills they learn in Starfleet training. They're like, what? You didn't take basic survival skills in Starfleet Academy, where camping class, I guess. Yeah, so
apparently.
But there's supposed to be like some signs that's like, look, like the Enterprise D, right? The Enterprise D is the most powerful ship in the entire fleet, designed to be the state-of-the-art design. And it's a giant cruise ship that has families on it and is designed specifically for exploration. That's sort of the idea it's supposed to go with. They're armed, but they definitely have this like. Again, it's very noodly, because
they do have some like dedicated warships though, and I know that they develop a few, like over the course of like conflicts and stuff. Like the Defiant, for example, is like a straight up like battleship. Not a battleship in the class, but like it is made for war.
Yes, you'll notice that when Rick Berman starts running Star Trek, all of a sudden they start building warships for very specific things. Like the Dominion was made for fighting the Borg, and you start ending up with the Dominion War, the development of the Akira class and the Akira class ship, and I think there's some other ones that are supposed to be like warships. But then in Picard, they sort of established that was the beginning of Starfleet going in a sort of wayward direction and losing its way. So, I don't know. Every Federationist officer is a Mary Sue. Yes, they are all Mary Sues.
Yes. That's how you need to be a Mary Sue to join Starfleet Academy, and they also teach you to be one.
Mm-hmm. That's why Wesley didn't get in that first time.
God.
And he lost out to that person who breathes dry ice through a mouth guard.
Bro, when I saw Wesley fucking Crusher in Star Trek Picard, I damn near lost my mind. I screamed at my TV, just like, he's back from whatever weird world he now inhabits. He's back.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it was like, the thing is that like Wesley Crusher as a character, he sucked. Will Wheaton seems like he's a half decent guy, and it sucks that those two things are true.
Yeah, he seems fine. I used to watch when he did like tabletop videos for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
He had a whole thing about just playing tabletop games with like pseudo celebrities and celebrities. It was great.
Yeah. There was a period, I think it was like when Geek and Sundry was really big, where there was like an entire sort of community of like tabletop board game focused content creators who had like reasonably professional studios. They were all around in like the same area of California. I think that most of them are now either in the Critical Role company or they're in the what's it called? The Dropout company. Like I think that there's a lot of crossover within that sort of blobby area of those people.
Yeah.
But there was a third one, which was Geek and Sundry, which went under because it was entirely dependent on Critical Role for its success. And then when Critical Role went independent, they basically just instantly collapsed.
They're still around.
Are they?
Because I went to their channel. They're still making videos.
Just to show how old Geek and Sundry is, Geek and Sundry is technically the media company started by Felicia Day. I.e. like the person from the Guild.
Good lord.
Yeah, that's how you know I'm 1,000 years old. Because I'll be like, remember that web series from 2007? And the answer should be no, but I do.
They played D&D with John Bradley, who plays Sam from Game of Thrones,
Interesting.
like a year ago.
Okay.
They're not nearly as successful as they used to be, but they're still doing shit.
Well, that's nice. I'm
Well,
glad
good for them. I have no idea if there's even marginally successful, but good for them that they're still around.
All right. Next question we got here is: was there any benefit from the 2010s online movement Anonymous?
Well,
so I don't know anything about Anonymous. Here's the thing. I went away for a long time. I uninterneted for several years. So what happened to me was in 2010, I knew Anonymous as the people who trolled the Church of Scientology. Then Tristan went to Quebec where he had 1 gigabyte of internet a week and came back in 2013. And all of a sudden everyone was complaining about women. And I don't exactly know what happened in the intervening time there.
So I think the one good thing that happened with Anonymous, right? Because Anonymous became very, very active and annoying for a few years. And the only thing that I can remember them actually doing any good was they shifted a lot of focus on, I think, Scientology.
Yes.
Once.
2000, yeah, that was 2008. I was around for the Scientology stuff.
Because Scientology was people knew about Scientology, but they weren't really super controversial. And then 2 things happened that really made Scientology be a publicly recognized insane thing to believe in. And Anonymous was one of them when they hacked their servers and displayed leaked a bunch of documents and things like that. Displayed messages on their website, which was pretty fun to see. And then there was a South Park episode where they made fun of Scientology, which I think came after the Anonymous thing. I think that they got marginally inspired by that.
Okay.
And those 2 things together.
I think the South Park thing was because. Oh no, never mind. Because they criticized Scientology, and then the actor who played Chef left the show because he was a Scientologist, and then they made a episode making fun of him.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, what did they do after they were done with Scientology?
Fuck knows. It was they were mostly just shit posters. Like Pim was saying, they were mostly shit posters on the internet. I'm a hacker group. What the fuck have they been doing?
Because I imagine it's not good because they have a lot of ties with 4chan, and 4chan sucks.
Yeah. There was a time when there was hope for 4chan when the edginess was in a progressive way for 5 minutes and then that stopped.
Yeah. So my time capsule thing was I disappeared, everyone was talking about Scientology. I then come back to the internet when I started grad school, and that is when Gamergate was happening. And I was like, what the fuck happened to the internet?
Apparently allegedly they stole hundreds of gigabytes of emails and documents from the Central Bank of Russia.
Interesting.
Not too long ago, and Gas Region, Metprom, a bunch of Russian companies.
Okie dokie.
Hacked a bunch of Russians. They took a side in the war, I think.
Cool.
They disabled Russia Today. Hacked a bunch of Russian TV channels, and apparently they still do that, where they just play Ukrainian music and showing them uncensored news of events in Ukraine.
That's kind of fun, I guess.
Leaking gigabytes of emails were from Belarusian weapons manufacturers. So it seems the group itself has a marginally good vibe, even if they're not
It's extremely cringe, but yes. Okay.
Doing anything on the internet is extremely cringe, to be fair.
This is true. I don't have much to speak on. I'm one of the most cringe human beings on the planet.
And we're proud of it.
Yeah. Okay, here's a good one. This is a very serious question, and we'll have to get ready. What's your favorite dinosaur? And bonus, your favorite extinct animal that isn't one of the dinosaurs. Okay, your favorite dinosaur, and then your favorite extinct animal that isn't a dinosaur. And I know that you were 8 once, so I know you have a favorite dinosaur.
I'm going to need to double check what it's called. Yeah, a Brachiosaurus. My favorite.
Oh, you're a sauropod fan? Interesting.
I do like the sauropods. But my favorite extinct animal, not dinosaur, is probably the woolly mammoth.
Oh, mammoths are cool.
They are cool.
I'm going to go with... Okay. Favorite dinosaur has always been, and for very stupid reasons, the Dilophosaurus, which was a sort of like a very early dinosaur that, like, I think it was kind of related to like the genus that would eventually go on to become like the Tyrannosaurs and the Raptors and stuff like that. But this was like sort of earlier on. I think they're either Jurassic or Triassic, so they're more early on. They had like a long neck and like they had crests on their head. I don't know. They looked cool, and they had like longer arms, but they're the only thing. So there's a couple reasons I thought they were cool. One of them is completely debunked now, but there was this time where some fringe studies of their skulls implied that some people implied a theory that they might have been venomous, but they were not. That was later disproven. Ooh. But
fun.
But I thought that was cool when I was like a kid. I also don't know the name of them, but I also really like those dinosaurs that are like rams, but they just have like a big bone plate on their head and they just smash into things.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely based.
Yeah.
I played them in the island.
Or the Ankylosaurus, which also was really cool, which is like the giant armadillo dinosaurs with like huge armored plates on their back and had like a fucking maul as a tail.
Nice.
Pretty good stuff.
Dinosaurs are so cool. I love dinosaurs.
They are pretty cool. I'm surprised like that they don't like. I'm a grown up now. I can study as much. I can like learn as much about dinosaurs as I want, and I just don't. I just watch Trey the Explorer videos. Oh, you might remember the Dilophosaurus because it one of them ate Wayne Knight in the first Jurassic Park movie. If you remember it from a baby one ate Wayne Knight in Jurassic Park.
I do not.
Did you ever see that movie? I know it's really old, and you were badly.
I have seen it, but I can't remember shit from it.
Well, Wayne Knight, otherwise known as Newman from Seinfeld, was in it as a disgruntled programmer, and then he steals a bunch of DNA and he gets lost, and then he runs into a baby Dilophosaurus that spits venom in his eyes and eats him, and it has a giant like Jesus lizard frill on it. Maybe that brings a memory.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all good.
It's been so long since I was never really into those movies when I did see them.
Okay.
It was more like catching glimpses of it when my dad watched it.
You should watch at least there's really only been one good one. Jurassic Park, the original, is actually a really good movie, and so you'll be surprised. I am every time I see it, I am actually blown away by how well it has aged. Because it was this really interesting mix of practical effects and CGI, and it resulted in like a very, very realistic looking movie that really stands up. As far as favorite non-dinosaur extinct animal, Tully Monster, man. Tully Monster looks like it was made as a joke. It's great. Have you ever heard of the Tully Monster?
I have not.
I'm gonna say just Google a picture of what this thing looked like. It looks like a shit post animal.
Oh my god! What the fuck is this? There's no way. There's no way this is real.
So it's like a branch of life that doesn't exist anymore. And for a long time, they had no idea what the fuck this thing was. And it was real. There's a lot of them. You can find them all over the place. And it's just like, why is this a thing? This is an absolute joke of a creature. It's the only animal I know that proves for a fact there is no God.
I was about to say, yeah. Oh. The Cambrian explosion was a mistake. You can buy a Tully monster stuffed animal.
Yeah. What's it called? Reject modernity. Return to what's it called? Return to before the Cambrian explosion.
Why
Return
does
to
it
algae.
look like that? Why does the eyes?
That's the best part about the Tully monster is that a lot of those facts we don't know. We actually don't know why it has a lot of weird things about it.
The fact that we know that they do have these weird features, but we don't know why, fucks with me so much.
Yeah. Another fun one was there's this, from the same period, there was this worm that we thought for a long time had spines on its back, and it turns out that those spines were actually its legs. Not because, for any bad reason, it's because it evolved in a way so that, its whole body plan was upside down for walking. You know how, flounders evolve so that they, live on their sides? This one, evolved to live on its back with, spikes for legs.
Well, evolution, as you said, evolution has so much proof that there is no God.
Yeah, because it just does so much just stupid stuff. But yeah, the Tully monster. Fucking...
It's disgusting. I love it so much.
That's the best way to describe it. It looks like it looks like something that you would make on your first time playing Spore.
I was about to say.
It looks like a really shitty Spore creature.
It's like the first Spore creature you get after the cell stage.
Yeah. Where you only have enough DNA points to make one mouth and you decide to just put it at the end of an arm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Price on a Back Tshirts. What the fuck?
What did I do to you? I realized, I'm like, okay, we have one more question, but I realized that we are actually almost at 2 o'clock. We Star Trek'd ourselves too close to the sun. So,
I can't stop looking at pictures of the Tully monster. I'm sorry.
So you're either gonna. So your afternoon is going to be Tully monster and Star Trek Resurgence.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want a Tully monster for my set somewhere.
How big is it?
It was small. It was pretty small.
Like a worm. 14 inches. Well.
Yeah, it was like.
That's still spooky.
Yeah, 14 inches is maybe 35 centimeters.
Yeah, it's like a fish.
Yeah.
It's like a standard fish.
Mm-hmm. Do I want one as in an aquarium? Yes. What is the only proof that God exists is that he smote this thing from the face of the planet? Yes.
I wonder. Well, he was smoking something when he made it.
He's just like, shit. And then he's like, I hope none of these fossilize and people just don't find out about them.
Yeah, I hope no one finds these fuckers.
I do like Scientific American's headline. What was the Tully monster? A fish, a worm, a slug, a giant slug with fangs. Oh boy.
Evolution was a mistake.
Yeah. But before we go, why don't you tell everybody where they can consume all of the Mia content?
You can consume Mia content by going to miamulder.com, and then that'll take you to my YouTube channel. There are no Tully monsters there, but there are videos. Yes, yet. My next video is just going to be all about the Tully monster and how we can destroy every trace of it from human existence.
I will. I'm after this stream is over, I'm going to show you a YouTube video by she is a biologist, like a zoologist, who's also the coolest. She's gay as hell and loves talking about animals and has an entire Tully monster video, and she's really, really cool. She's one of my favorite science communicators. But yeah, so go to miamulder.com and consume all of her content. You recently made a Star Wars video.
Yeah, because I got a back injury of some sort, so I didn't have the energy to make a real video. So I spent an hour analyzing Star Trek politics, Star Wars politics.
And do know
it's
that
good.
Tristan has not forgotten that you have said you are going to make an Austin Powers video.
Yes.
It has not happened yet. And I know now for a fact you have the costume for it because you did an Austin Powers bit in a different video. So now you have the parts.
I have everything I need to do it. I'm gonna make a video about. Eventually I'm gonna make a video about Austin Powers and fatherhood because the movies are about fatherhood.
Nice.
And they're good movies. And
Maybe
also
I should
listen to
rewatch
Leech
them.
Fest. We haven't made a new episode in a while because everyone's been so fucking busy, but we're making a new one soon.
Yeah. Do it up. Good stuff. Mia, it's always a pleasure. Everybody, I'm not rating anybody because we're not on Twitch, so that's not happening. But yeah, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, and we'll see you guys on the next time. On the next time, everybody.